Okay. So tell me, what city did you grow up in?
Cleveland, Ohio. 4116 East 144th Street, Harvard. Lee and Harvard, actually. Miles Road.
What are some of your fondest memories about growing up in Cleveland?
Hmm. Um, School, like Moses Cleveland Elementary. Uh, my mom and dad taking me to school. I remember my dad walked me into kindergarten, and I was cool at first because he was there with me. But as soon as he said, "Okay, son, I'm gonna, Daddy be back to get you," I remember feeling an overwhelming sense of fear. I mean, I felt fear before in my life, um, and I was very familiar with what that feeling felt like. I had recorded it, stored it in my body, and but this fear was something different. It was like, oh no, I'm going to be left alone. I'm going to be by myself. I don't know these kids, the same kids that I've been playing with for 25 minutes because my dad stayed with me for 25 minutes. I am like terrified of the possibilities of being hurt. And I remember me going crazy. Dad's getting embarrassed, and my kindergarten teacher, I even remember her walking over and putting her hands on my head, picking me up. I was the only child in the classroom actually scared and terrified, crying. And she, Miss Castor, she just held me and told me it was going to be okay. And whenever someone says it's going to be okay, it usually does. And so I stored that in my mind as well because I wanted to never forget what I felt like when I heard, "Okay, son, I'll be back." And when I heard, "It's going to be okay." It was around me everywhere I went. I mean, in church, uh, my aunt and my mom would sing. My grandmother played the piano, kind of like an old Western feel. So my grandmother Juanita actually introduced me to the Western culture of playing, the style of playing that blum, 2, 3, almost like a waltz or blum dum dum blum dum blum dum blum blum. And I looked for that sound everywhere, and I'd find it everywhere, even in the neighborhood, playing at the playground. The ice cream truck man would come along and do 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 do. Blang, 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 blang. And I looked for that, and it made me happy. It really soothed me when I didn't even know I needed to be soothed. And then in school, even in elementary class, I would learn about Charlie Barrett Parker. I would learn about the great Scott Joplin, all the way up into the fabulous, the incredible Marian Anderson. And this was long before there was internet or YouTube. It was going to come around pretty soon, but it wasn't accessible to young kids in my neighborhood. I remember still doing my homework out of the encyclopedia at your neighborhood library. So all I had was my imagination as to how it could have felt sitting in a concert hall and hearing the beautiful, beautiful stylings of Miss Marian Anderson. Whew. To hear her voice, and then you go into church and you try to find that voice and you don't, to a young person like me, that poses a serious problem, because now I have to explore this even further. Okay, so this isn't how everyone sings. I mean, like, where is the genre of this style, And then as you go throughout the course of your living and you start really exploring and experiencing music in different settings, now you're starting to understand, okay, well, this belongs here, this belongs here. For instance, the Negro Spirituals, in that gray in the morning, fairly well, fairly well. Well, that belonged in my church, Bethel Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we weren't like the normal Seventh-day Adventist church, because most Seventh-day Adventist churches, they sang more of the songs with the harmonics, or more of a classical feel, a bunch of hymns. We would sing hymns like, "Oh, rugged cross, to what a friend we have in Jesus," and that was very beautiful as well. But then in my church, music was pretty much so vast. I mean, it can be, you can hear anything from the Brooklyn Tap all the way up to the great late Daryl Coley and his stylings, all the way down to some serious foot stomping gospel music. And then you look for the sound, and then you follow the sound, and then you look for the root of the sound. So if Daryl Coley sings this way, and Marian Anderson sings this way, and Harry Belafonte in the movies sings this way, or Julie Andrews in Sound of Music sings this way, what is the root note and root cause of why they sing? And the more you travel down the road of harmony, or the road of melodic tunes, you find out that it has absolutely nothing to do with that style. So now I'm tracing and I'm finding that there's a guy by the name of Mozart and Beethoven and Salieric, and this is incredible, because some of these guys had serious ailments, and now you're saying, okay, so the root of the sound is birthed possibly out of ailments, pain, sickness, deprivation, segregation. Nina Simone, Sam Cooke, Motown, Johnny Cash. And you start exploring the stories and you find out, wow, this is really where I belong, because I have a similar story. And you start performing out of your pain, and you start performing out of your story. And before you know it, you're moved out of your house into a house with a performance group. And you become the star of the performance group. And then before you know it, you're winning singing competitions. Before you know it, you lay it down singing, and it travels and finds you all the way into Iraq. And now you're singing for troops that may have been murdered in the war. And you're singing to troops who can't quite cope properly with it. And now you're out of the military, and you're thinking that you're going to just live a normal life, and then music finds you again, and music chases you down and knocks on your door, and it says, you're not normal. And you just don't have music. You now realize that you are the root to music. And now there's a war inside of you that's brewing, because you have this storm flurry of sound and melodies and genres, and you are waiting for the colossal crash. Boom! And the debris from all that you've ever heard musically is the War and Treaty. There you have it.